we've been looking at Matthew 20. This is the third week. This is the big finale. This is the make or break moment in the trilogy. Either it works or it doesn't. You know, what's it going to be? So let's start with the word as a little refresher so we know what we're talking about. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. And after he agreed with the workers to pay them a denarian, he sent them into the vineyard, a day's wage. Then he went out around 9 in the morning and saw others standing around in the marketplace doing nothing. He said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and I'll pay you whatever is right." And they went. Again around noon, and then at 3 in the afternoon, he did the same thing. Around 5 in the afternoon, he went and found others just standing around. And he said to them, "Why are you just standing around all day long, doing nothing?" They replied, "Because nobody has hired us." He responded, "You also go into the vineyard." And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, "Call the workers and give them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired, and then move on up to the first." Each one received a denarian, beginning with those who were hired at 5 in the afternoon, all the way to those who had been working all day long. And now when those who were hired first came, they thought that they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarian. And when they received it, they grumbled against the landowner. Those who were hired last worked 1 hour, and they received the same pay as we did, even though we worked hard all day long in the hot sun. But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I have done you no wrong. Did I not pay you what we agreed upon? Take what belongs to you and go. I want to give to this one who was hired last the same as I give to you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with what belongs to me? Or are you resentful because I'm generous?" So those who are last will be first, and those who are first will be last. The word of the Lord. Now this week marks the beginning of my favorite holiday all year long. Some of you know because I've been talking about it this morning because I'm just too excited. No, it's not Arbor Day. It's not even Flag Day. As exciting as that is, oh, I can get off on some flags. No, it's not 4th of July, that's already come and gone. It's not coming up to Labor Day, although I do enjoy a good cookout, but you know, you can cook out almost any time. You don't need an excuse. Fire good, meat good, put them together, they're good. No, I'm talking about that oldest and noblest of American traditions, at least as far as 1987, Shark Week. Discovery Channel's Shark Week is my favorite holiday. Every single year I get super excited about it. And I'm a little bummed. I'm going to be in Montreat, a great place. Land of glory, Presbyterians all around. And I'm going to miss Shark Week because I'm going to be there. And I wouldn't ordinarily be upset because you can go back and watch the clips later. But I just know someone's going to find out whether or not a shark was able to outswim Michael Phelps. That's an event that is happening in our nation. That is where we are. Anything is possible. They've been building it up. Michael Phelps, 26-time Olympic gold medalist, fastest swimmer in the world, can reach an average speed of 6 miles per hour in the water. I can't walk 6 miles an hour, let alone do something in water and hold my breath. But a shark can get up to 25 miles per hour. This is hardly a contest. I think everyone knows this is a marketing stunt. I'm just grateful that they went ahead and got rid of the fake documentaries where they're looking for sharks that have been extinct for millions of years and saying, "Hey, I think we found one," and no, you didn't. So I'm grateful that they're leaning into the absurdity of Shark Week, but I still get excited when you get that seal camera out on the water, and it's just this little flotation device with a camera on it, and it's shaped like a seal, and the shark doesn't know that, so the shark goes down and disappears into the ocean, which is the biggest thing. The fact that we're able to find sharks at all is miraculous because it's the ocean, and we're able to find them by putting a little floaty out on the back of the boat. But then they appear all jaws and nothing else, and they are shooting up out of the water, and you can see like 90% of their body, and you're like, "That's amazing." And then they say, "What's even better is we shot it with a 20 million frames per second camera, and we're gonna watch this one shot all week long." And you get to watch the teeth coming up out of the water slowly, and the water breaks and parts around them, and the shark goes, "Oh no, this is one of those Discovery Channel cameras." I got tricked again and I'm still hungry. So, Shark Week. It's kicking off with this ridiculous thing. Michael Phelps versus a shark. Not a small man, but a small thing compared to a shark. It's small versus big. And that's what we're talking about this week, is small v. big. Not in the court of law, it just sounds fun to say. But Phelps versus a shark, small versus big. We're talking about being too small to fail. You'll remember a few years ago, 2007, 2008, when the market was up in ends, just all topsy-turvy. No one knew which way it was up. And the crash, and there was a big government bailout. There was this whole conversation about, well, is that really responsible or fair because we're a free market economy, which means the government doesn't invest in one company or another. But then everyone was saying, well, these companies are all too big to fail. If they fail, then the whole economy implodes, and then we don't have a dollar. We don't have anything to spend. And so the government said, we'll pump a whole lot of money into these systems so we don't have to deal with the same thing as the Great Depression, where the stock market crashes. And so then we just had a little cleaned up version of it, the Great Recession. It's just receding. That's all. It's just low tide. That's all. It's coming back in. You know what? Go stroll on the beach because you finally have time. That's what we're talking about here. It's not unemployment. It's fun employment. You know, we tried to clean it up with language, but we really knew what was going on. So what we're talking about is being too small to fail. And we're looking at this moment where God is going out all day long. Beginning of the day. 9 in the morning. 12 at noon. 3 in the afternoon. 5 o'clock in the evening. God is constantly going out. I think we know that the landowner is a stand-in for God here. So I think we can safely say that God is constantly looking for people to pull in to the work of the kingdom of God. And God here is throwing everything at the wall to see what catches. God says, I have this vineyard. I need people to work it. If there are people out there, I'm going to get them in here. But not just on a fair basis. I'm doing this on a everybody gets the same kind of payment basis. People working at 5 in the afternoon are probably leaving that day going, hey, you should go work for this guy in the vineyard because he pays everyone the same. But maybe if you want to, just hang out in the marketplace and wait till the guy comes and finds you, and then maybe you'll only have to work an hour, and you'll still get a full day's wage. Hopefully not. But it doesn't seem fair that people are grumbling, that people are saying that we worked and we sweated, and if there's anything that we know about here in the South, it's how to sweat. We know what it means to get outside, open the door, and just be instantly angry that you're already sweating. And you can imagine, their fingers are sore from picking grapes. Their backs hurt from having to bend over to get to the low grapes and then stand up and then carry big, heavy baskets that only get heavier as the day go on. They're grumpy by nature. It's just going to happen. I don't know anyone whose body hurts and it's hot and humid and you go, wow, isn't it a great day outside? It doesn't happen that often. But God pays everyone the same amount because this landowner working this vineyard can afford to. It's a small company. This isn't Monsanto. This isn't a big corporate industrial farm all growing soybeans and automating as much as they can so that they don't have to pay as much to as many workers and then working the land as much as they can and then trying to figure out, well, how can we maximize our profits and what can we pay people the least and how can we get the cheapest labor? No, this is a mom and pop operation saying, you know what, come in as soon as you can. And we've got a really great retirement package for you, and we've got pension and benefits, and we're going to pay you a livable wage, and you're going to be able to make it, from week to week comfortably. You can fill up your car without having to worry about the gas money. This is a small family operation saying, you are as valuable no matter when you come in as the people who came in first. You are all extremely valuable to me, and I am valuing you the same way that I would value my own family. And God can afford to do this because small companies are nimble. Small companies are able to work a little faster on things like paying out their employees' livable salaries. Then a large corporation, because a large corporation has to take all of these numbers into account across multiple cities, maybe multinational. And then you wind up with this weird thing where maybe a multinational company is selling 10 billion hamburgers a year, making $300 billion a year. They've destroyed an entire rainforest, but the CEO can buy 20 acres of land in the Hamptons because, well, they love nature so much. Seems a little ironic to me that, but anyway, you have these smaller companies that are able to move more nimbly. There are companies out west that will pay their employees from top to bottom of the corporation, CEO all the way down to facilities management, $65,000 a year, benefits and pension. And everyone comes into work happy and smiling and nobody has to worry about anything because they decided we're going to take a new corporate model to how we compensate our employees. We're going to take a new corporate model and we're going to make sure that everyone is paid the same so that it's fair and no one can say, well, I have to work my way up or I have to wait, or there's no ceiling or floor. It's just all of the same thing going out there. And it's a smaller company and they can afford to do this because they're only worrying about themselves. But the ironic thing in Scripture here today is that God is not merely worried about the single vineyard. The last being first and the first being last is not about a fair day's wage or even some sort of socialist or minimalist or communist or capitalist enterprise. This is a completely new thing that we've never seen before. This is God going to God's people and saying, look, I know that you have this extremely long history together with me. You were there in the beginning when I called Abraham out of the desert and I said, you're going to have a son. And Abraham said, but I'm old. And God said, well, I don't care. And you're going to have a son. And then he's going to have a son. And then that son's going to have 12 sons. And those are going to be the 12 tribes. And then you're going to wind up in Egypt. And you're going to be okay for a little while. But then you're going to wind up in slavery. And it's going to last about 400 years. But then it's okay because I'm going to bring another person up out of that. And they're going to bring you out of Egypt into the desert. You're going to wander the desert. But then there's a promised land. I've promised this land to you, and then once you get there, it's not going to get much better, because then you're going to live in this time where every now and then I'm going to have to call someone up to lead you, lead your armies, lead your cities. These will be called judges, and these judges are going to lead you up until a time when you get frustrated and said, well, we need a king, and God says, but I'm your king, and you say, yeah, that's great, but we need a king we can see, and so then I'll bring up a prophet to go anoint a king, and the king will work for a little while until the king taxes you too much and brings too much to bear on the load that you have to carry for your kingdom, and the king is not going to be fair, and it's not going to be just, and that's going to stink, and there will be a series of these kings who just keep repeating the same mistakes and the same mistakes, and then finally there's going to be an Assyrian invasion, and it's going to cripple your nation, and it's going to break it in two, and then you're going to have two of these jokers to deal with for a series of years, and then finally a Babylonian empire is going to come, and they're going to occupy you and actually lead you out of the land, and you're not even going to be there anymore, and you're going to feel homeless, and you're going to feel destitute, and you're going to feel like strangers. But then, after that, you're going to go to the Romans and you're going to say, well, one empire is as good as another, right? And that's where Jesus finds these people today, saying, look, I know you've been in it for the long haul, but I've also come for the people who are just showing up, because I'm generous. The people who didn't have to suffer in this minority state, occupied by empire after empire. Maybe even the empire itself. And Jesus says, I have salvation for all. In fact, Jesus often quotes Isaiah. Real early on, Isaiah, this prophet, sitting in the seat of Babylonian Empire, away from home with all the people who are feeling lost and feeling destitute and feeling like there is no justice. And Isaiah says, God says, I am coming to gather all nations and cultures. They will come to see my glory. Isaiah 66, verse 18 says this. This is a small operation in the midst of a sea of corporations, working to the benefit of everybody. Because they're too small to fail. They cannot be squashed. They can't be controlled. They can't be occupied. In fact, oftentimes you read in these historical documents from people like Josephus and other Roman history writers, and they're talking about the sort of backwater edge of the Roman Empire, where people keep causing trouble for us, and they keep trying to uprise them. We keep putting them down, but you can't keep a good resurrection down. And so we killed one guy, but he came back, and we can't kill him twice, because if we kill him twice and then he comes back again, well, then we've really got a problem, because, well, that was our plan. That was the whole thing. I have this recurring nightmare that I'm in my bedroom and there's a bear outside, and I go, that's okay, there's a door. And then the bear opens the door, and there goes my plan. If bears ever figure out how to open doors, I'm dead meat. I'm just going to climb into a big tortilla shell and say, start at the head, please. Because my plan was the door. Jesus is saying, I've got so much life to give. I have so much salvation wrapped up in this resurrection that there is no amount of door or plan A or army or alternative theology or philosophy that is going to keep me out. We are called to this amazing place where a successful Christianity becomes bigger than anything we can imagine, because we didn't let size get in the way of our dreams. We never said we're too small to succeed. We always said we're too small to fail. What have we got to lose? When you're at the bottom of the barrel, there's only one way but up. So might as well keep clawing your way up. My hope is that that is where we can live. I love this image when I come down to Fayetteville from Atlanta. I get off at the Flat Shoals exit on 85, and I'm coming down a road that sort of goes, it's near a large building, a large warehouse, a large shipping center, really, just trucks backing up. It reminds me a little bit like, you know, when you see a crowd of piglets or puppies like crowding around their mom. That's kind of what it looks like to me, these trucks backing up to this building. And maybe you know what I'm talking about. I can tell you that you probably have a lot of their products in your bathroom or kitchen sink or something. They cleaned, well, everything. They cleaned all of me today, so I'm grateful to them. I don't know how much of them are responsible for my fabulous hairstyle, but probably a good portion of it. But right across the street from this huge multinational conglomerate that makes every possible hygiene and beauty project ever imagined is this little one-house hairdresser studio, and it's called Before and After. And I love it because you have this huge company that makes all of these things. And they make so much money, they make so much profit. And maybe their corporate system is good, maybe they have a good retirement plan, maybe they take care of their employees. I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but I do know that right across the street is this little mom and pop hairdresser making it. They have access. They probably use so many of these products right across the street, but they use these products to fund their whole life. And it's this vast mirror image of big and small right next to each other. And one is succeeding every day because they're too small to fail. And we are too small to fail, even in the face of gigantic odds, even in the face of ultimate comparison. It is so easy to fall into these traps, but you don't have to, because God is all about calling up the people to lead the world. Calling up the people who may seem least likely to lead the world to ultimate salvation. I love this phrase in Isaiah 66. I'm coming to gather all nations and cultures, and they will come to see my glory. And there's this wonderful phrase in Scripture that pops up continuously all throughout the Psalms and all throughout Proverbs and all throughout prophets and all throughout the New Testament, that the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I don't know when the last time that you've been weightlifting was, but there's a lot of grunting, there's a lot of sweating, there's a lot of really fun belts to put on that are like the size of your torso so that you don't throw your back out, because I've done that too, and that is not fun to throw your back out. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of inventing new words to describe pain. Slipped discs are the worst. And it's rare in that moment that you go, wow, I'm super joyful right now. I'm super happy. But when you find your strength in God, the joy doesn't make any sense. When you're facing insurmountable odds and whistling while you work, people turn their heads going, what is happening? They want to ask, what are you on? What have you been smoking? What have you been taking? That you're as happy as a bunch of coked up kindergartners just running around town with no reason to be. And you say, it's because the joy of the Lord is my strength. What a gift to be made strong by God's joy. To live in this place where size, where comparisons, all of that falls away. And you know that you are valued by God. That God has prepared the work. And that God has opened the doors to you and to everybody. To come in and be a part of the kingdom and find your joy and the strength of the Lord. So come and find your joy. Come and be a part of the kingdom. And come ready to work regardless of what time it is, regardless of where you are. And come ready to be joyful beside the people that you might have never expected to be there. Well, the last thing about Matthew 20 is this question, are you resentful because I am generous? And my wife and I have this agreement in our marriage. It's one of the few contracts that we've ever signed together, but the contract is we will never have an expectation of each other. And the idea is that expectations oftentimes lead to resentment. Unfulfilled expectations are a business contract, and we live in a relationship that goes beyond mere business. And we don't have expectations of each other. We have desires of each other, because desires, well, that can lead to nothing more than a broken heart, but a broken heart can be fixed. And it helps frame our relationship to the point that we rarely fight, and when we do fight, we usually wind up getting on each other's sides, and then we wind up arguing the other person's point for them, and it just turns around, and then we're laughing and eating tacos, and we don't know how we got there. But we know that we're happy, and we know that we have managed to dodge a relational bullet, and I hope, upon hope, that we can dodge this relational bullet with God, where we are resentful because God calls someone that we don't agree with into the kingdom. God has called us, and God has called everybody, unconditionally. And we should go in with this desire and expectation to relate to each other with that same sense of unexpected joy. Joy that goes beyond our understanding and seems foolish and extravagant and goes above and beyond the norms of what is considered sane. So go into the world with this insane joy in your hearts and in your heads, knowing that God has called you, God has prepared you, God has called others, God has prepared others. Let us pray. Gracious God, we are thankful for your generosity. We are thankful that you have taught us time and time again that you are unbound by any limitation. We thank you for this receptiveness into the kingdom. We thank you for calling us, and we thank you for preparing your work. Help us to find our joy in you, God. Help us to let your joy make us strong. All of these things we pray in the name of the Son, and the Father, and the Holy Ghost.